Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. My name is Heather, also known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Plurk, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Monday, the 26th of May, 2014, and this is episode 80, Ribbons. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. Today is Memorial Day in the US, which is a day to remember those who have lost their lives fighting for our country. Steve is off work today, so I don't know what we're doing today. We might just hang out and do yard stuff. I don't have any family who have lost their lives in military service, although I have many friends and family members who have served. So I'll be thinking of them today and maybe contacting them. I don't know, not so good about the contacting thing. It's just, yeah, I'm just not. We went to the zoo over the weekend and it was fun. We went on Saturday morning before it got hot. We were there from like 9 to 11 or 9 to noon, something like that. It was good. Mara really, really wanted to go. She kept telling me on Friday that that's what she wanted to do. So we did. We went to a part of the zoo that the kids haven't been to in 2 years, 2.5 years. So basically never, because I don't think either of them remembered. I mean, Mara was definitely too little, but I think Gabriel was too little to remember as well. So that was fun, and Gabriel has been obsessed with the baby polar bear because the zoo has a lot of babies. They do not have a baby polar bear. Steve said that he wishes that one of the babies had been the polar bear. So Gabriel has been obsessed with finding the baby polar bear, even though there is no baby polar bear, but he is sure that there's a baby polar bear. Silliness. In other news, Mara is going through a growth spurt, so she's been sleeping like 14 hours a day, which is nice because when she's been awake, she's been either really, really cuddly, like in my personal space cuddly, or whiny because she's growing. Gabriel is about to go through a growth spurt too because he took a 2-hour nap in the middle of the day yesterday, and he never takes naps. So, yay, growing children. I feel very fortunate that my children grow during summertime when it doesn't really matter if shorts get a little bit shorter and t-shirts don't have any sleeves to get short on arms. So I feel fortunate about that. Charity Knit Along is going on, and the prize for that will be a pattern up to $7 US dollars on Ravelry, or I will knit you something using yarn from my stash, which is over here. Almost everything is up for grabs, although there are a few project lots that are saved for other things. It goes to June 15th, and I actually have a project. I did not finish a project, but I started one. So this is going to be a hat, and it's going to be one of those hats that like there's barely anything there, but has like little ears sticking out because these corners stay flat. I think those hats are adorable. I don't wear enough hats to make myself one of those hats, but my best friend has one and she wears it, and I think it's super cute. She knitted hers. I'm crocheting mine because crocheting is faster than knitting. And it's going to be like adult-ish size, teenager or adult size. The way that this sort of hat is made is you can either start in the round and then seam up the top, which works fine, or I started with a chain across the top, crocheted through one side of the chain, and then came back and crocheted through the other side, leaving that loop, the bottom part where you would normally crochet through, completely untouched. So this is how far I am. I'm about a third of the way because I think for the pattern that my friend made, it said to make 9 inches of knitting before seaming it closed because she started in the round and then seamed up the top. I think it said 9 inches, so I'm at like 3.5. I measured before the show, but I only measured one spot instead of a couple spots because this side, on this side of the stitches, unworked, is much shorter than the worked side of the stitches. So somewhere between 3 and 3.5 inches. I'm using a US size G hook, which is 4.25 millimeters, and this is Lion Brand Wool Ease Sport in the Blueberry Twist colorway. Even more exciting than what I worked on for the charity craft along, I got some packages in the mail with things that you have made for the craft along. First, I got these two adorable preemie caps, baby caps, from Allison, which I will be taking with me to the ZK to put into the hat drive there. And Allison also sent a square for Shondi's blanket. I think it's so pretty. I love this colorway, this pink and green, or yellowish green. It's really, really beautiful. I don't think my camera is picking up the yellow so much. Oh, it's better that way. I received a square from Jennifer for Shondi's blanket. Also very beautiful. And I received 5 squares from Haley. So thank you all so much, everybody who's sent squares so far or who have contacted me about sending squares. Thank you so much. It's just, I'm really excited that this blanket is going to be made quickly, because sometimes the blankets that the Skylar Blanket Project put together are in progress for 6 months or a year because people just aren't sending in squares. But this is a great dent toward the total number. So thank you so much. And if you're interested in sending in for this blanket or for a different blanket, get in contact with me. I will give you the information for what we're looking for. I can give you the link to the group on Ravelry so you can figure that out. But thank you so much. You guys are awesome. Everybody who's participated in any way in this knit along, you make my day. And there's still time to send in squares and hats if you want to. Send them to me particularly, but you can donate to anywhere. Any charity crafting works, and it doesn't have to be donated necessarily. It could be made from a pattern or with a yarn or fiber that were dyed for a charity. So a pattern designed with proceeds going to charity, or a yarn or fiber dyed with proceeds, sales going to charity. I finished a lot of things this week. I finished 3 things this week. So these are my design socks. They look kind of like that. They're finished. They're out to test knitters. So far, no complaints. A little bit of feedback, which is good. Enough to let me know that people are working on them, but no glaring errors so far, which is good. So the yarn that I used to make that awesome super bright colorway came from 716 Knit. It's the 716 sock, and if you have sensitive ears around, I'm going to say it this week because it's the last time I'm going to say it. So here it comes. This is the colorway I Might Be Love's Bitch, which is super beautiful. And if I had to guess why she named the colorway that, it's because I had a square in my blanket. I had a mini skein, and it was a DK weight mini skein, and I put it in my sock yarn blanket, and I was working it up, and I was like, I love this so much. And I had a design idea in my head, and I said, Jenna, I might need this yarn on a sock base. I don't know yet, but I might need it. So I waited on it for about a week, and the design was like, no, I need that yarn in particular. So I was like, okay, Jenna, I need it. So there you go. The name is very fitting. I also finished the Mystic Spiral Socks by Josh Ricks. This is a variegated version. So here are my two socks. One is sideways and one is straight, so you can see the pattern. I used illuminated yarns, jubilation base iridium base in the jubilation colorway. And I think this colorway is super beautiful, and the yarn was really nice to work with. It's BFL nylon. I may have made one pair of socks with BFL before, but I can't remember for sure. I really, really enjoyed working with this yarn, and I really enjoy this pattern. I modified it to be 60 stitches around instead of 68, and I used a fishlets kiss heel instead of the recommended heel in the pattern. I also extended the amount of stripes after the heel, or the amount of rounds after the heel, to be the same as the amount of rounds before the heel. Both of those pairs of socks were worked on US size 1, 2.25 millimeter. I also finished the Magic Ball shawl. So this is what it looks like. I blocked it out to be as long as my wingspan. It was probably a foot to a foot and a half less wide pre-blocking, and I didn't block the lace on the edge. What I did was I have a rack over my washing machine and dryer, so I pinned one end or one corner to one side of the rack and one corner to the other side of the rack, and just let it hang down and block that way. It worked well. It's as wide as I want it to be. I think the lace, even though it's not super blocked, it's just about as lacy as I want it to be. I didn't want it to be super lacy. And did I say that I added lace toward the end so that it would kind of mimic but not be the same as this edging over here? Can't remember. There were a lot of yarns used in this because it was a magic ball. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the cards for the ones that I have, and tell you the other ones if I can remember what they are. This dark green is Leading Men Fiber Arts. The variegated with the pinks and everything is from Sophie's Toes sock yarn in the Christmas tree colorway. I super love this colorway. I want it in my life in an entire skein. I am not sure what this bright green is. This stripy green and blue color, this right here, is 716 knit, 716 sock in Planet Pocket Protector. Welcome to Planet Pocket Protector. The dark green, I believe, is also Leading Men Fiber Arts, but I could be mistaken on that. This lighter, almost tonal green with pops of color is from Paranoia Yarns. It's 75/25 Superwash Merino Nylon. The green and brown color, variegated kind of, long color runs though, is from Creature Comfort Craftworks. And you can't see because I'm showing you the wrong part. And it is 70/30 merino silk. Not sure what this bright green is. It didn't come with a tag. And then the last two colors, I actually still have some, and it'll be easier to show you in the ball, I think. So this color on the outside is from Solar Flare Fibers, and it is the colorway Magic Ball. it was a one-off that she showed, and we were like, yes, that needs to be in our Magic Ball shawl because it's beautiful. And then the color on the inside is Loopy Legends in the colorway Tracy's Organic Garden. It's 100% superwash wool. I believe the Solar Flare Fibers is also 100% superwash merino, but I can't remember for sure. I know I have the card here somewhere. I don't know where I put it. I have about 10 grams left. It was not enough. I did not have enough to do another repeat and then the edging. I could have done one repeat and no edging, but my VKN friends told me that I should put an edging on it, so I listened to them and put an edging on it, and I like the edging, so not a bad thing. We're going to make sure that I'm not going to flash you too much. I'm wearing a tank top today, so, you know, it's always an issue, a possible issue. So the points come down a little bit, and the shawl part, this is the way that I found that I like to wear this one. It's got the little bit of the triangle, which covers basically what's not covered by the back of a tank top. Perfect size for that. I'm going to hopefully have this out to Lisa so she can test knit it, you know, soon, because she offered to test knit it and she has a magic ball handy. So I'm going to hopefully get that off to her today. I just need to write up the actual pattern instructions. I did the chart first, which is usually the part that I hate doing the most. And then this will be up soon in case you also want to make a magic ball and don't want to make the magic cake ruffle shawl, which is beautiful, but it's not, that sort of thing is not my style, which is why I designed one. Works in progress. Obviously I did a lot of work on those this week, so my works in progress are dwindling. Still working on the superwash merino from Perchance to Knit. I finished the second cup. I started, you can see over my shoulder, mirroring. So right there, that's my plying spindle. I probably have only plied about 30 yards so far. And I have a lot left to spin. I don't think the spin is going to be finished by the end of the month unless I super buckle down on it. But I have time. It's okay if it's not finished. I really want it to be, but I don't know if that's realistic. We'll see though. This colorway is called That Color in the Sky Before the Storm. It has several shades of gray and then just a pop of a really bright greeny yellow color, as you would expect from the name. So I'm working on that. I started a shawl that was on my to finish this month list, so it's not like I just pulled something out just because. I started it last week, Monday night, and this is the Vlad shawl. Well, it's just called Vlad by Tammy Bailey. So this is kind of what it's going to look like when it's blocked. It's quite big, so it's quite big right now on the needles to try to show you. But I think you can get an idea for what it's going to look like. I am opting to add an extra repeat of the body because I have over 60 yards left for, or 60% left. I have over 60% left of my skein right this minute for edging, and the edging doesn't take up that much. I did some calculations and I'm like 80% sure that I will have enough and maybe a little bit extra. I might have to, my calculations could be wrong. I did them this morning, first thing. But I'm pretty sure that I can do an extra body repeat to use up a little more of this yarn and still be fine. If not, I can either bind off in a different color, or if I'm very short, I think that I can sacrifice the last 4 rows of the shawl and still be okay. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, that's my plan. We'll see next week. I'll tell you how it ended up. This yarn is very, very beautiful. It is Mountain Colors Barefoot in the colorway Harmony Moss. And it's very, very beautiful, but I am not making it for me, which makes me sad because this color is so, so perfect. But it has mohair in it, and I can work with mohair. It's not like cashmere where I can't even touch it. I can work with mohair, but it makes me itchy. So I can only do about a repeat on this a day, and I definitely would not be able to wear it. It's super pretty. I'm sending it off to my best friend's sister. She's having a kind of a rough year, and her favorite color is also green. The other project that I kind of worked on, but not really, I keep pushing back the wrong side of hair because I'm looking in the camera and it's distracting me. So I did like 4 rounds or something pathetic on my ZK thigh highs. These are not getting done this month because I just didn't work on them. I had it all figured out, how much I needed to do to finish them by the end of the month, and they are just above the heels. 4 rounds above the heels. But I will keep working on them because now I don't have a lot of things to work on, just 4 projects, and one of them will be done very, very soon. So it'll get done when they'll get done when they get done. They'll get done before the ZK, because if it's the week before and I'm not close to done, I know that I will go monogamous so that it can be finished on time. Sack yarn blanket. I did a lot of modular knitting this week. I don't know why. Just did. I did 12 squares. These are all Haley yarns from the package that I showed you last week. So different types of yarns. I want to know what this yarn is. It's gray and like a lilac-y color almost, and a pinky color, but it's a purple gray, and they all have pink flecks on them. I want to know what that is because I want it. These are the other Haley squares. So 12 of those, which my blanket is over 600 squares now. It is 601 squares. Yay! It's getting so big. I did 12 squares on my blanket, and I also did 12 hexapuffs, which brings my hexapuff count up to 156. All of the yarns are Haley yarns. The way that I did it last week is I made a square and a hexapuff out of the same yarn every day. So this is a celebratory square. It's got pearl ridges where the stripes change. Celebratory square. Square hexapuff. Regular puffs. Regular puffs. These are all celebratory puffs. And you're saying, that seems like a lot of celebratory puffs for 3 projects. It's because I had celebratory puffs to make for last week's projects. So celebratory puffs, and these are all reverse stockinette, so I knit them as normal and then turn them inside out and close them up. I chose to Kitchener. I like the Kitchenering for the most part for my puffs, unless I don't have a darning needle handy, in which case I 3-needle bind off. And this one. So that is all 12. This one's my favorite. It's the one that I really like the square from in my sock yarn blanket. I have a bajillion new things this week. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to grab my tablet. I got a pattern. I won it from Knitting Blooms, the Blooming Knitter. I don't remember which one the podcast is called, but you know what I'm talking about. So Tina is doing the Year of the Stash, and I won. Yay! So I picked the Partying It Up and Getting Down sock pattern by Megan Williams. There were about 5 patterns on my queue that I was very interested in. So I asked some friends in a VKN which one they thought I should pick, and that was not the one that they picked. The other one was the short row shuffle or something like that. And I think that would be really cool, but then I was honest with myself and I said, we've been doing a lot of walking around recently, so probably the partying it up and getting down pattern will be easier for walking around places. My sister and I were discussing around November last year me making her another sweater, and I told her when she bought the yarn I totally would, and she finally has. So I think you're going to be really excited when you see this yarn. Amanda fell in love with the Care Bears with Fangs colorway from 716 Knit, but she wanted a worsted weight sweater and she didn't necessarily want it to be striping. Plus, that would just be so much work to get it to stripe, to get the yarn to stripe by itself. Obviously, you could, there are ways to do that, but that's not the way she went. So this is the variegated version from 716 Knit of the Care Bears with Fangs colorway, and it is 716 strong, which is 100% superwash Australian merino, and there are 1,800 yards total in the colorway You Have Butt Face. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to show you all 4 skeins because they all show the color differently. They were dyed at the same time, so they should be very similar, but you know, the way that skeins are wound make yarn look different depending on which part is the tightest part of the hank and which parts are less tight. So super gorgeous. And I will be making a sweater for Amanda soon, not before the ZK. Definitely not starting it before the ZK, but maybe after. I know there's time to make it, but how can you not just want to make all the things out of it right now? Love this colorway. It's so bright and crazy. It's completely beautiful. When Haley sent the squares, she also sent me a mini to go with, she must have finished a pair of socks between when she sent me the box and when she sent me the squares. Allison also sent minis when she sent her square and hats. So I love this one. I bet you can't tell why. They all have tags, it looks like, so hopefully you can see. Oh yeah, there are all the colors in this bag. I am super excited. I think there is enough in all of these to put a square in my blanket and have a hexapuff too. It looks like it from here. I could be wrong, but it takes very little to make the squares and hexapuffs. Really about 10 yards a piece either way. About. More for some yarns, less for other yarns. You know how that goes, because not all fingering weights are created equally. But they're very beautiful. Thank you so much, Allison and Haley, for the minis. Can't wait to put them in my blankets. Yesterday was knitting group, and I did not go to the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival, but my friend Lorraine did, and the reason I didn't go was because it's not a really long drive, maybe an hour and a half, but I don't like driving. Nobody else from our group was going, and that would be a very long drive for me to make by myself. My longest drives by myself are about 20 minutes. So I opted not to go, and we went to the aquarium instead as a family. So I didn't go, but she went, and she took many classes, and one of the classes she took was about making bats on a drum carder. And she was, of course, showing off everything she made in the class, as one does. I actually think that she made these when she got home, but she pulled out this one, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. So it's got purple and orange and yellow on a turquoise base, and this is all merino. So beautiful, right? Super gorgeous. And then she pulled out a few more bats, and she got to this bat, and I was like, oh, I love that bat too. Even though it's got orange and yellow, it's super pretty. And she was, talking about them, and there's a very new knitter at our group. She's only been knitting since, I want to say October of last year, maybe November. She hasn't been knitting very long, and she thinks that spinning is magic. So whenever we show a spinning project or anything, she's like, so what are you going to make with it? And she saw these bats, well, all of the bats, there were 7 or so. She was like, what are you going to make with them? And they're only about an ounce a piece. And Lorraine said, oh, I don't know, I'll probably spin them and make them find small projects to make out of them. And we have a visitor. It's Ducky. He doesn't like being on the camera. He just likes being on my lap and in my personal space. I saw these bats, and I was like, you know what you could do for these 2 bats in particular is spin them up as singles and then ply them together, and that would just be amazingly beautiful. And she picked them up, and she said, well, if you feel strongly about it, you can have them. And I was like, thank you. It wasn't, yes, pretty. It's not like I was like, oh, I need those, but they're beautiful. And I'm excited to spin those sometime. You know how it goes. This might be the highlight, though, of the things that I have received this week, aside from the charity things, because those are the obvious highlight. But things for me that I received this week. So she handed me this bag, and she was like, well, it's a bag that I got from Rhinebeck last year, but I figured you would like it. And that's cute. It's got very cute sheep. And I said, oh, thank you. She's like, well, get your present because it's your birthday. Get your present out of the bag. So I opened the bag, and I pulled out this, and I was like, thank you. It's pink, and she knows that I'm not a pink girl, so I was like, thanks. And she said, you didn't get everything from the bag. I said, oh, okay. So I opened the bag, and I looked, and I was like, ah. I pulled it out. She gave me the cutest little Turkish spindle. It's so tiny. It's only 12 grams. And the only thing you can spin on it is thread. Oh, that doesn't... Yeah, against my hair is probably the best because, pink fiber against my yellow pinky skin doesn't show so well. It's so cute. I love it so much. I'm not sure who it's from. I'll tell you when I get the cap off. But look at how cute it is. Oh, it's so cute and tiny. And she brought it in a month and a half ago, I would imagine, and let me play on it for a little while with this pink fiber because she had this one and she had a slightly bigger one. It was about this tall. And I was playing with it and I was like, oh, I love it. It's so cute, blah, blah, blah. And she remembered. So she gave it to me for my birthday. Isn't that so nice? Oh, I love it so much. I'm so excited. Okay. I feel like I'm going on forever. So I'm going to try to focus and not be too super in love with my super cute little spindle. Well, I'm going to still be in love, but I'm going to try to contain it for this. I'm still reading The Black Swan by Mercedes Lackey. Very much like it. I have probably 100 pages to go. Not very much. But what cut into my reading time of this, other than, all that knitting that I did, I picked up The One by Kira Cass from the library. It was on hold for me. I picked it up and I read it in a day. It's the last installment in the Selection trilogy. So good. So good. There were laughs. There were tears. It was very angsty, so if you're not into angsty teen books, probably don't read it. But it had a lot of social commentary. I really, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend The Selection by Kira Cass, the trilogy. There's also a short story book. It's got two novellas, kind of, two short stories from the male main character's point of views, which I talked about last week. Very, very good. I really, really enjoyed the books. And I'm sad that they're over. It came in on hold early last week, and I didn't go until almost the end of the week because I wanted to read it, but I knew as soon as I read it, the story would be over. And that always makes me a little bit sad when the story is over. The last thing, I don't have a list for you this week, but I do have something that I'm really excited about and pretty proud of. I did not go to the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival, but Lorraine did, and there is a handspun competition. She took 2 skeins of my handspun and entered them for me. She took my paperwork and everything. I did the filling out of the cards and the paperwork, but she actually took them for me, and I won. So this is the Gotland wool that I spun, and it won first place in the category, which was 2-ply 900 to 1900 yards per pound was the category. So pretty widespread of weights for a 2-ply. But the Gotland won first place, and the BFL got second place. Isn't that exciting? She told me last month-ish that I should consider entering after I showed, I took the Gotland to knitting and then I took the BFL, and she said, you should enter your spinning. So I did. And I won. I'm pretty excited about that. It's the first time that I've entered spinning into any sort of competition, and not a lot of people, because I haven't shown a lot of people, but the people who I've shown have said that they like this yarn better than this yarn. But I completely think it's because of the fractaling of this yarn and the colors. This yarn definitely deserves first place over this yarn because it's much more evenly spun. Not that this is really uneven, but there are a few places where it's slightly thicker or thinner. But I'm super excited. So I have ribbons for my wall because the yarn isn't going to stay with me. I spun those for Josh. But I have ribbons. Yay! I hope you made something fantastic with your 6 and string, and I will see you next week. Bye!